40 years ago, there were precious few centers for bioethics across the United States. Loma Linda University had the foresight and vision to enter that space. In 1984, after the board approval, the Loma Linda University Center for Christian Bioethics opened its doors. This was no small task, given the requirements by the board to do so, which included raising $100,000. We should all show our appreciation to the three founders, Jack Pravancha, David Larson, and Jim Walters. If Jack put a face on the dream of having a center, David and Jim were the bone and muscle, as Jack himself put it. The center is like a three-piece suit. David and Jim are the trousers and coat. I'm the vest that gets all the gravy. For a couple years, Jack led out while David served as the associate director. While the impetus for the center emerged primarily from the School of Religion, then technically a faculty of religion, Jack's identity as both physician and philosopher drew the School of Medicine into a structural partnership with the School of Religion to oversee the center. Upon Jack's retirement, physician Robert Orr joined us as the clinical co-director, and David Larson's role became more explicit with the title theological co-director. Thus, a theological and a clinical co-leadership model emerged from the partnership between the schools of religion and medicine. This partnership model was then and continues to be a distinct element of our center compared to other centers across the country. David Larson, a brilliant theologian, was the primary day-to-day director of the center. His grasp, his understanding, his ability to parse out the important details of the forest without losing the whole of it is unparalleled in my own experience among Adventist scholars. Without him, the center would not exist. Not then, not now. His decision to host a conference on the topic of abortion in Seventh-day Adventist thought in 1989, with subsequent publication of the collected essays, drew worldwide attention to the center within and beyond Adventism. Robert Orr, our first designated clinical co-director, joined us from outside our own faith tradition. Among other things, he proved to us that we could and should partner with people of other faiths. He was not just one of the nation's leading clinical ethicists. He was one of the most gracious, giving, and gentlemanly persons ever to work with us. Our ability to embrace Robert Orr as a colleague stretched us toward an ecumenical orientation that still bothers some within our church. While such hesitancy to embrace the other is understandable given traditional Adventist sectarianism, we should celebrate this part of our center's history and commit to a future that includes purposeful partnerships with other faith traditions. I would be remiss were I not to mention Gwendolyn Utt here. While the co-leadership model was always conceptually and pragmatically essential for the emotional ownership of the center by the university, it is the day-to-day work of the managers of the center that kept the place running. Gwendolyn was the first of these tireless friends of the center. It is because of her correspondence and promotional work that I grew interested. She sent me material about the center and its activities and programs that drew me out and away from my pastoral vocation in Alaska. During their time together leading the center, David and Gwendolyn established several programmatic structures that remain to this day. Additional conferences, invited lecturers, clinical forums, and our news journal Update amount to a massive gift to our university, church, local community, and nation. Nobody ran the center longer than David Larson, though I followed him in that role in the year 2001. No one ever replaced Bob Orr as our clinical co-director during my 9 years of shepherding the center. Heather Morrison and then Dawn Gordon filled the shoes of Gwendolyn Utt during my tenure. Additionally, so many students come to mind as I reflect upon my own time. Takanobu Kinju, Brian Foxworth, Sarah Gebauer, Anna Cabal, Elisha Ingetti and Whitney Braun de Lobato. Roy Branson followed my time at the center late in the year 2009. It is a singular honor for me to have my name be in the same sentence with this man, now passed. Roy opened the way for so very many of us in ethics within our church. But he was not just an ethicist. He was a top-notch scholar, social justice activist, institution builder, and never hesitant to wade into difficult conversations at any level of our church. It has always been an essential role for ethicists within the Loma Linda tradition to think and speak with prophetic boldness. But it must be done with special care not to alienate ourselves. Roy was exceptionally good at striking that balance and staying in the conversation. Roy's death prompted the interim leadership of Jim Walters. Jim's passion for transparency had led him and a small group of others to launch the journal Adventist Today. Such widespread influence in the church allowed him to push for a more robust embrace of the humanities. Jim pushed then and continues to push now for a humanities program at Loma Linda University that no other Adventist institution can match. In our university-wide curriculum, as well as our intellectual life on Sabbath, few others in our history have pushed as hard and as successfully as Jim Walters. May his emphasis and impact linger long into the future. Following Jim Walters, Jerry Winslow took the helm of the center in 2016. No one involved in the center has ever done more to create an expansive network of clinical ethics education and consultation. Along with those services offered by the center comes a level of financial support for the center that serves us well. A consummate churchman and statesman, whether inside or outside our church, Jerry's ability to create substantive relationships with others is without peer. Illustrating this part of Jerry's very identity are the two special speakers here for this anniversary, Karen LeBox and Robert McCauley. Dr. LeBox blesses the center in her role as chair of the Advisory Council, and we wish to offer our deepest appreciation for her service. There is an inevitable tension within faith-based healthcare between church administrators and the ministry of faithful people caring for the public. Ministering to the public from within a faith tradition is messy business. Jerry's efforts to keep all parties in conversation is a Herculean task, but he makes it look easy. He served for many years on the General Conference Health Department's Christian View of Human Life Committee. In that role, he was the principal author of several official statements and guidelines that now populate the official website of our worldwide church. Additionally, his creation of the Adventist Bioethics Consortium draws together Adventist healthcare corporations across the country in partnership with the North American division leadership of our church. As Jerry stepped away from actively directing the center in 2021, Yi-Shin Ma accepted the leadership post, which he held for approximately 2 years. He continues his service today as an associate director. Yi-Shin is a young man so bright that he can integrate multiple advanced accomplishments in philosophy, theology, religion, and social work. While Yi-Shin's tenure at the center is short-lived, given his new vocation in the field of clinical social work, those of us whose hearts belong to the center are certain that he will never fully escape its pull. We wish you well, Yi-Shin, and part of my hope is that you can help the center understand how important clinical social work is for our understanding of clinical and biomedical ethics. And to the present we have now come. Grace We inhabits the unified leadership of the center. For the first time in our history, leadership of the center is untethered to the teaching load of a School of Religion faculty member. The position of leader is now won as the co-director structure goes the way of the past. proudly, finally, we embrace a woman to lead us. Thank you, Grace, for being willing to take the lead. Your task is not easy, as those of us who have gone before likely have already told you. Nonetheless, we are confident that you are up to the task. Having personally known Grace since she was a student in the MA program in bioethics that I led, I can attest to her excellence in both clinical and theological contexts. We appreciate you, Dr. Wee. We stand ready to help you in a manner that seems fit to you. Let me finish with a broad and bold assertion. Seventh-day Adventism would not exist in its present state without our traditional emphasis on our health message. Loma Linda University is the flagship expression of that traditional message. Simply put, without Loma Linda University and its healthcare ministry, Adventism would not, could not exist as it does today. But let me go further. Without the Center for Christian Bioethics, Loma Linda University's story could not be what it is today. The Center for Christian Bioethics is to Loma Linda University what Loma Linda University is to Seventh-day Adventism. May it be thus, long into the future.